Tēnā koutou ina ahuatanga o te wā. Greetings and thank you for joining us. My name is Chris McClay. I'm the Chief Executive of the Waikato Regional Council. Joining me this evening is Mali Ahapene, our Electoral Officer. We're coming to you from our council chambers at 160 Ward Street in Hamilton. If successfully elected, you could be joining us in the chamber in October. This webinar is your opportunity to find out a bit more about what's involved in standing for council. And Mali will be able to, and myself will be able to answer any questions that you might have. How the session will work, we'll be giving you a bit of an overview about the Waikato Regional Council. We'll then move on to talk about the role of councillor and how you can make your stand for a regional council. It will then be your opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. But before we get into it, just a few quick points about the platform for this webinar. We're using Microsoft Teams. This webinar has been recorded and we should be uploading it to our website in the next day or two for people that were unable to attend. But don't worry, there'll be no risk of you making an unexpected cameo. To help ensure good connectivity and video quality for everyone, you won't be able to turn on your camera or microphone during the session. You're encouraged though to ask any questions at any time in the Q&A part of this app. We're also joined tonight by Wendy Valois, who'll be helping to collect those questions for us to answer when we get to the Q&A session. We expect the session should take no more than an hour, but to make sure we keep the time, we ask that participants keep all questions respectful and on topic. So I'll just pass over quickly to Wendy just to describe any technical information needs that you might have.
Thank you, Chris. The route to access the Q&A functionality in Teams might look slightly different depending on the device that you're joining us on. If you're on a laptop, you may be able to see it in the navigation bar, but if you're on your phone, you'll just need to click the 3 dots symbol to expand your options. You might experience a slight delay in the Q&A before you see your question pop up, but that's perfectly normal. If you aren't able to ask a question at all, it will most likely be because you joined via the web version instead of the Teams app. If you're only here to listen, there's no worries there, but if you'd like to ask questions, we'd recommend rejoining via the Microsoft Teams app instead. It's free and quick to download from your app store. Once you have it, the easiest way to rejoin is via the join link in the Teams confirmation email you received after you registered. So that's the tech stuff out of the way, so let's get into it, Chris.
Yeah, thanks, Wendy. So Council's current vision and purpose, the vision is Waikato Mārohirahi, Manaki Whenua Whakamana Tangata. That is the mighty Waikato, caring for our place and empowering our people. And our purpose is working together for a Waikato region that has a healthy environment, a strong economy and vibrant communities. Council is a $190 million a year business requiring financial understanding, planning, strategic thinking and lots of decision making. It's through this work as a councillor that you have an opportunity to make a real difference in people's lives in the Waikato region. Our 10-year strategy sets out why we're here, what we stand for, our values, the principles that guide our work, and the commitment we make to every individual and organisation that uses our services. We work with others, that is iwi partners, stakeholders, and many different members of the community. We work under the Local Government Act that requires democratic decision-making for communities and promotes the four well-beings, that's economic, social, cultural, and environmental. We also implement many different pieces of principal national legislation. A few examples that you might be familiar with: the Resource Management Act, the Biosecurity Act, the Land Transport Act, the Maritime Transport Act, the Soil Conservation and River Controls Act, and we implement many treaty settlements that the Crown has done with iwi. We have a strategic direction that currently identifies 6 strategic priorities that Council's working towards, that collectively help build a more resilient Waikato, a region that's prepared and well positioned to respond to new challenges, outlining how we are helping to achieve the goals of the community and improve the well-being of the region. The 6 strategic priorities are there on the slide. That's water, climate, biodiversity, coastal and marine, sustainable infrastructure, and transport connections. It's connecting people and communities throughout the region. The Waikato region itself is a large region, takes up about 20% of the North Island. It's not just land, it also includes a coastal area up to 12 nautical miles. The Waikato region is comprised of one city, that's Hamilton City, and 10 different districts. And these 3 of these districts straddle the regional boundaries. They are Waitomo, that straddles in Taranaki, Taupo, which also straddles with Bay of Plenty and the Horizons Regional Council, and Taranaki, and Rotorua, which straddles the Bay of Plenty Regional Council. About 500,000 people live in the Waikato region, and about 110,000 of those identify themselves as Māori. The median age of people in the region is 37 years. The Waikato is responsible for 8% of New Zealand's gross domestic product, and the employment rate is about 70%. As I said, it's a large region, the 4th largest in New Zealand. It's made up of 2.5 million hectares, or 25,000 square kilometres of land, and about 10,000 square kilometres of coastal marine area. It has a lot of very significant natural features, some of which are listed there, including New Zealand's largest and deepest lake, Lake Taupo, and New Zealand's largest awa, the Waikato River. We're known for our natural environment from which great products are produced. Waikato region is significant because we're New Zealand's most important dairying region and also important for other primary production, such as dry stock, horticulture crops, forestry, and aquaculture. We have 3/4 of New Zealand's geothermal resources in the Waikato. We have a very significant national transport corridor. A lot of New Zealand's freight and logistics move through the Waikato, and we're part of the Golden Triangle from Auckland, Waikato, over to Tauranga, where the 2 ports are important for exports for New Zealand. We're home to a big proportion of New Zealand's plantation forests, and people say when they come and visit, our landscapes and environment are the #1 reason that they come. We're also New Zealand's premier electricity region, generating more electricity than any other region in New Zealand, and that's particularly important at times of low hydro flows in the South Island. We're also a very important mineral producing region of New Zealand, so we're very important for New Zealand's economy. I thought it might be well worth mentioning the difference between regional councils and other local councils in local government. City and district councils are often called territorial authorities. They obviously cover smaller geographic areas because they make up part of our region. They tend to provide the things that affect people in their everyday daily lives, like essential services. They look after local roads, they provide water to houses, provide wastewater services, rubbish collection, parking, and so on. They also provide community facilities such as pools, museums, libraries, and so on. They're responsible for land use and subdivisions, which are listed in their district plan, and they're responsible for community health and safety, functions like animal control, building control, and liquor licensing. Regional councils, on the other hand, are responsible for functions that are best delivered at a regional scale and tend to be of a wider geographic or spatial importance or over a longer time frame. Things that often span local boundaries. So the functions that we provide, such as managing natural resources and allocating natural resources, regional transport planning and providing public passenger transport services throughout the region, protecting and restoring natural biodiversity, providing biosecurity functions and looking after harmful plant and animal pests, providing flood protection and drainage schemes, keeping water users safe. So we have the harbour masters within the region, responding to pollution incidents, consenting and so on, and preparing communities for civil defence emergencies. So we hold the group civil defence function. We have about 600 staff working throughout the region to deliver this work, with offices in Hamilton, Whitianga, Taupō and Paeroa, as well as work depots in Northgate, just to the north of Hamilton, Tuakau and Kirapehi. At Waikato Regional Council, we're committed to our people, we invest in training, we focus on organisation culture and leadership, and we make sure we have a great working environment to attract and retain the people that we need. It's the role of the councillors to provide a governance function for our organisation and to make decisions on the big picture issues that support a sustainable future for the Waikato, one where we can meet the wellbeing needs of our communities. Key aspects of the work include overseeing and adopting policies, monitoring the performance of council against its objectives, overseeing the management of council's resources, including financial, risk and infrastructure strategies, and employing one person, that's the chief executive or me. It's my role to employ all the other staff in council. It's a big job with big responsibilities. Our incoming councillors will help to chart our course through the reshaping of almost every facet of how local government operates. You may be aware the government is undertaking a review of local government. We have fed into that in the past, and when the review panel comes out with their findings in October, there will be another big opportunity to give our view on their report on how we think local government should be shaped in the future. Not only that, but you might be aware that there's other key government reforms ongoing. One particularly important one is the Resource Management Act reform, which is going to be replaced by 3 different acts. The Natural and Built Environments Act, in which there will be a regional natural and built environments plan. The Spatial Planning Act, which there will be a regional spatial plan. And a Climate Adaptation Act, which will require us to show how we're trying to identify the risks and help the region respond to those climate changes going forward. Of course, there's also the ongoing risk of disruption from COVID, global unrest, and the thing on many people's minds, rising costs and inflationary pressures. Also, the growing inequality in some of our communities. So it's a big job, as I said, with big responsibilities, which is why we want prospective candidates to be informed and understand what's coming on the horizon. All this change presents us with an opportunity to examine how we can not only better serve our communities, but to rethink how we can make the Waikato the best it can be, environmentally, socially and economically for now and for future generations. Some of the big decisions that will need to be made by councillors who, when they're elected, one of the first things will be a triennial agreement. That's an agreement between all the local government organisations in the region for how we're going to work together. We'll also need to review our strategic direction and agree on the key strategic priorities to focus on going forward. We have a coastal plan, a regional coastal plan that is ready to be notified, and the incoming council will need to notify that. Under recent government legislation requirements, we are having to review our regional policy statement and our regional plan. These are big things that our council will need to consider. And of course, those government reforms which I referred to before. So that's it from me for the meantime. I'm going to pass over to Mali Ahapene. She works in council, and one of her roles is she is the electoral officer for the region. I'd like to welcome you now, Mali, to take people online through what's involved in being a councillor and how you can make a stand to sit at this table with me.
Tēnā koe, Chris. Ko tai mai nei I tēnei wā, tēnei te mihi, tēnā koutou katoa. Greetings to you all and thank you for making time to tune into our webinar. Here at Waikato Regional Council, there are 14 seats up for election, with 12 councillors from 6 general constituencies and 2 councillors from 2 Māori constituencies. For Regional Council, the chairperson is selected by a resolution of council. And with regard to the time commitment, the chairperson shares the same responsibilities as all other elected members. However, they also have additional responsibilities like presiding at council meetings to ensure the orderly conduct of business. The chairperson is our spokesperson and ceremonial head. Our chairperson provides leadership and feedback to all other elected members, and our chairperson is also a justice of the peace for the duration of their term in office. And so, with all of the additional responsibilities on and for the chairperson, it's generally a full-time position. The time commitment for all other councillors varies depending on the number of responsibilities, and so some of the key responsibilities include attending regular council and or committee meetings, attending meetings and or workshops with council employees and external parties as required for individual projects, reading plans, reports, agendas, and other meeting preparation work, and also engaging with the public, including attending events and public meetings. And so on a typical day, a councillor might attend a council or committee meeting, hear an update on progress in preventing the spread of COVID disease, speak to residents as part of a consultation on a new plan, and or perhaps talk to media about plans on our bus or train services. As you can see, responsibilities are varied. With regard to remuneration, it is the Remuneration Authority, which is an independent body that sets the pay for elected members right across the motu. But to give you an indication of remuneration that can be expected, the salaries listed on this slide will be paid from the 1st of July 2022. And so just over $163,000 for the chairperson, approximately 86,000 for the deputy chairperson, 73,000 plus for a committee chairperson, and just over 64,000 for a councillor without any additional responsibilities. Moving on then to the next slide, as you can see, a map of our region, which is massive. It stretches from the Bombay Hills in the north down to Ruapehu in the south, over to the Coromandel Peninsula in the east and Moko in the west. This slide here also shows our general constituencies alongside our Māori constituencies. To stand in a Māori constituency, you must be nominated by 2 electors on the Māori electoral roll within the area in which you wish to stand. And similarly, to stand in a general constituency, you must be nominated by 2 electors on the general electoral roll within the area in which you wish to stand. Moving on then to how to make your stand. To be a candidate for an elected member position, you must be a New Zealand citizen, over 18 years old, and enrolled on the electoral roll anywhere in the country. To be effective in the role, though, you must bring a broad range of skills, including decision-making and strategic thinking, communication and community engagement, and also relationship building and collaboration. Some of the things that Chris has already mentioned during his presentation. And so moving on to a bit more information on how to make a stand. To become a candidate, you will need to complete a nomination form, get 2 people to nominate you, They too must be over 18 and enrolled to vote in the area you wish to stand. And you must also pay a nomination deposit of $200. Lastly, reminder here to lodge your nomination no later than 12 p.m. on Friday, the 12th of August. Some campaigning rules. Oh, sorry, no, we're looking at some key dates for candidates here. And so on the slide, a number of dates that you should be aware of. Friday, the 8th of July, pre-election period commences. Friday, the 15th of July, nominations open, as does the electoral roll. Both the nominations and electoral roll then close on Friday, the 12th of August at noon sharp. Voting documents will be delivered to electors right across the motu between the 16th of September through to Wednesday, the 21st of September. And lastly, election day or voting closes noon sharp on Saturday, the 8th of October. And so moving on to some campaigning rules. Campaigning can commence at any time. Candidates can campaign leading up to and inclusive of election day, but please take the time to make yourself familiar with the local council bylaws on election signs. We've collated this information into a useful booklet, and that information is available within our candidate information pack that you can access a number of ways, which I'll get to. All election advertising must also have an authorisation. What is an authorisation? An authorisation is a statement setting out the name for whom material is published, and that is either yourself or your agent. The authorisation must also include a residential or business address, an email address or a PO box or a phone number or a link to an internet page, essentially a method of contact. Also, please be aware and be sure to remove election signs no later than midnight, Friday the 7th of October, the night before the election closing. Here we want to present you with some information on election expenditure. You need to be aware that expense limits apply for election campaigns. The applicable period for which campaign expenditure limits apply is 3 months before election day, and the limits are based on population within each area. For Waikato Regional Council, the maximum amount spent must not exceed the limits here on this slide. Expenditure is GST inclusive, and an electoral expense and donation form must be completed and returned to Council by around about 9 December. Forms, by the way, are available for public inspection for a period of 7 years. Moving on to voting, the voting period commences 16 September. As mentioned earlier, voting packs will be delivered between the 16th and 21st of September, and the first past the post voting system will apply for Waikato Regional Council elections. The order of candidate names will be fully random on voting documents for our elections as well, worth noting. Special voting is available at local councils, and lastly, another emphasis that voting closes at noon sharp on Saturday, the 8th of October. Moving on to results. Progress results will be available from approximately 2 p.m. on election day, 8 October. So as you can see, we get results relatively quickly. However, preliminary results, which include all votes excluding special votes, so essentially the additional votes that are received on the election day itself, those results will be available the following day, Sunday the 9th of October. And then the final results, which are the most important results, they are all the results which include special votes, should be available by Thursday the 13th of October. All successful candidates can officially act in their capacity as elected members once they are sworn in at a formal meeting of council. This meeting is called the Triennial Council Meeting. Almost there. You can find a copy of our candidate information and nomination form on our website, and a copy also of the pre-election report will be available by the 29th of July. And the last slide here from me, and in closing, it's my job to support candidates, and so if you would like to have a direct kōrero, please get in touch with me or James or Dave on 0800 800 401. Ngā mihi ki a koutou. Back to you, Chris.
Thanks very much, Marley. So those online, that brings us to our question and answer segment. Wendy, I'm not sure if anybody's submitted any questions online currently, but there is an opportunity. I'll just wait a minute in case you do want to. There's different ways you can ask questions. If you're in the question and answer area, if you click the ... and select the 3 dots and select the question and answers. For iOS Apple users, I understand you can swipe left and right to navigate between the presentation and Q&A. Android users, you can use the back button, and PC users should have full sight of both. So I'm just waiting in case there are any questions online.
Thanks, Chris. It would appear that at this stage, you've obviously done a comprehensive job of covering everything that candidates might want to know, and we don't have any questions.
Okay, well, look, thank you for those who have attended and taken the time and stuck with us until the end, or those who at a later date are watching this recording. I guess a key thing to remember is those dates for candidates. Nominations open in just over a week on Friday the 15th of July. And most importantly, the nominations must be in by 12 noon on Friday the 12th of August. The candidate handbook, nomination forms, and a host of other information is available on our website, waikatoregion.govt.nz/elections. Ka kite.
We do have a question that has just popped up, Chris.
Oh, thanks, Wendy.
Which is possibly one that might be best answered by Marley. How many election packs will people receive? Will they come all together for regional and city council, or will they be separate?
Kia ora mō tō pātai. I'm assuming by the question it might relate to voting packs and the voting document. And if that is the case, just confirmation that yes, all local elections within the region will be on that one voting document. So it will include the city or district council as well as the regional council elections. We no longer have DHB elections because legislation has changed and we no longer have district health boards. So that is a key change that you will notice in the voting document this time round. It won't include the election for district health board. I might just pause and just check that that was that answered the question. Happy to take a further question.
Kia ora, Marley, and just to clarify, so the election pack that we'll have on our website that they can download just refers to the regional council, but in terms of what you're talking about, the voting packs that local government sends out later will include other local government. Wendy, are there any other comments or questions?
No, there's nothing for, oh wait. Does Waikato Regional Council also look after public transport of Rotorua?
That's a really good and interesting question. No, we don't. The Bay of Plenty Regional Council looks after public transport in Rotorua City. Our region takes in part of Rotorua, which are mainly rural. That's on this side from Mamaku to the boundary in the Kaimai Mamaku Ranges. And we also sweep around south of Rotorua and pick up the likes of parts of Reparoa in there, which is part of the Rotorua district. But there's no public transport offerings in there currently. And so the main public transport in Rotorua, which is in the metro city area, is provided by the Bay of Plenty Regional Council.
Thanks, Chris. There is no other question that has popped. No other question that has popped up. Just thank you. And so I'll leave you to just wrap up one more time.
Thank you, Wendy. Look, thanks again for those who have attended, and again for those who are going to be watching this at a later date on our website. The information is there to be able to get your nominations in. For those who do put their nominations in, I wish you all the best in the elections. Ka kite.